Hello and welcome back to my American Girl Doll YouTube channel. This video is not intended for children under the age of 13 years old. If the comments are set off, it's because YouTube did it, not me. I'm almost 18 years old. Stop taking my comments, YouTube. Today's video is going to be about the American Girl face molds from the Pleasant Company to early Mattel era. We will be covering 8 of the original 8 molds and their history and features, as well as some other statistics about them. We're going to be starting with the classic face mold released in 1986, one of the first releases ever from American Girl, on 3 dolls initially, and that is Kirsten Larson, Samantha, and Molly McIntyre. I forgot Samantha's last name, okay? I don't feel like writing it down. The most recent doll with this face mold is Truly Me 105, and you will see images on screen of both to compare. So Kirsten Larson will be our representative doll because he's actually the least known, and I feel like I want to give her some attention because, I don't know, she's my favorite of the original 3. And Truly Me 105 is one of the bald Truly Me's from the rebrand in 2022. The main features you are going to see in this mold are a very, very round face that looks more like a baby or toddler's in comparison to many of the others that we will see later on in the AG face mold catalog. The eye sockets appear to be slightly larger with chubbier cheeks on these dolls as well, giving a slightly more youthful vibe. The way this face mold, the newer ones have slightly longer, almost oval-ish, but not quite oval-ish faces, with slightly, I'm going to say about the same size of sockets. They just look a little smaller to me for some reason. And definitely, like, you can see it in the cheeks where they're slimmer for sure. Because they had almost like a chickmunkish vibe, because the classic mold has a slightly upturned, small, straight nose. And it has been used on a total of 80 dolls throughout the American Girl catalog from 1986 to now. Just keep now being when you're watching this video. Just check when it was uploaded if you're watching this later. It has been used on 61 Truly Me dolls, 10 historical dolls, 8 Girl of the Years, 1 contemporary doll. It is easily the most overused. We're going to go into the next face mold, which is the Addie face mold released in 1993 by Pleasant Company. This face mold will be represented by Miss Addie Walker herself, and this is the beginning of face molds being named after their introductory doll, so to keep that fact in mind. All the face molds from this point onwards will be going by this pattern. So Addie Walker was the very first. Her face had chubbier cheeks, slightly larger eye sockets than the current one, I'm going to say, but the way her forehead and everything's built, it does not look like her eyes are larger in comparison to, say, a classic mold. But they are about the same. They look about the same size as far as that goes, in comparison to newer ones, which have slightly slimmer cheeks and almost smaller looking eye sockets, but it can be more attributed to how the eyes are placed than the actual eye socket. And the cheeks are definitely slimmer. It has been used on a total of 11 dolls from 1993 to now, since their initial release. And that goes 11 Truly Me dolls, 1 historical, 0 Girl of the Years, 0 contemporary characters, and 0 World by Us. It is available through the American Girl Create Your Own generator, though. The next face mold is going to be Truly Me number 4 face mold / the Asian face mold, released in 1995 into the, at the time, American Girl Today line. Because of this, this is the only doll made with this face mold. It is intended to represent Asian Americans. It has almond-shaped eyes that are clearly monolithed. She has amber eyes, and she's very pretty. I like her. She has a wider, upturned nose with a flat nose bridge. Her lips are surprisingly large for what I've come to expect from American Girl. And she does, I don't know if it's just me, she does seem to have quite a forehead, but it's probably because she's had bangs. Whenever I see them without bangs, my head's confused. This has only been used on one doll, and that is in the American Girl Today into the early Truly Me line. Maybe even been called like My American Girl at the time of her retirement, being retired in 2009. So the next face mold we're going to get into after her is the Josefina face mold, released in 1997. The Josefina face mold was intended to represent Hispanic girls, specifically kind of the New Mexican flavor of Hispanic. I'm going to put it that way, that I am. I am New Mexico flavored, you could say. I don't know, that's getting weird. And the Josefina mold has been used in a total of 29 dolls. Many of those dolls, there have been 16 Truly Me dolls. There have been a total of 5 Josefinas in the historical line. There have been like 8 Girl of the Year dolls, 1 World by Us doll, and no contemporary character line. The most recent doll with it is Truly Me 109. She has very different features, but you can still tell how the mold has changed. The cheeks have slimmed down since the original release. The eyes appear to be physically larger. Her face, I think, is the same height. It doesn't appear to be like squished or anything. That being said, original Josefinas kind of look like they have a slightly longer neck from the first 3 years of her availability, and these are the true pleasant. And the first 2 year ones are considered true Pleasant companies. This was the last face mold released while Pleasant Roland still owned the company, so keep that in mind. About a year after her release, it was sold to Mattel, which means the next face molds we're going to see are going to be going into that era. It also has a total of 29 dolls that used it. The next face mold was the Kaya mold, released in 2002 on Kaya. This mold has been used for a total of 2 regular dolls and is available through the CYO. Josefina is also available as a CYO. You can get that mold. This was a more recent update. Her face was created with the intention to represent specifically Native Americans, but the Nez Perce people, made by a whole board of Nez Perce tribal members, where they talked about everything about her face and other features, but we're talking about her face mold today. She has a almost square face, lack of a better term. She has slightly wider lips, almost monolithic looking eyes. It's something like something phasal fold or whatever. It's like a fold near the eye, so it looks similar to like almost an Asian doll's face. She has a slightly wider, flatter nose. And the more recent ones, because there's been so few dolls made with this mold, the changes I cannot detect, if there are any, to be honest. Logan Everett is just that mold in a different skin color with a different wig and all that stuff. So Logan himself barely shows any change. The next mold we're going to get into is the Jess McConnell mold. This was one of the... the Jess mold was released in 2006, being the first one to be released under the American Girl line. First new mold to be released into the American Girl of the Year line. This was also the first year it was called Girl of the Year. The years prior it was called American Girl of Today and was an extension of the original American Girl Today, released in 1995. You're getting a lot of history in this. I know, hopefully you're not bored. So, she was the first one to be called an American Girl of the Year right off the bat. Her face was initially created to represent a half European, half Japanese girl. It has been used to represent many different ones. It has, in the past, different Asians. Specifically, though, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean people. The mold, upon its initial release, she had a slightly shorter, rounder face with slightly wider looking eye sockets with no eye paint details. A more recent one that you'll see does look a little different. Her face is slightly longer, her cheeks smaller, her eyes also, they are set slightly differently. I'm pretty sure they're the same size, they're just set differently. The most recent doll with this face mold was released as a part of the Truly Me rebrand in 2023, who is Truly Me 111, who's actually a revamp of another Truly Me, but he's just different enough that he's a different one, obviously. There have been exactly 14 dolls created with this mold. I believe about 5 of them are modified. We're going to talk about the modified mold now because there's 2 versions. I know it's very complicated. The modified mold was released in I think 2008 or something. I don't actually remember Ivy Ling's release date, with Ivy Ling into the Best Friend line. So the Best Friends were an extension of the historical characters. And it features a slightly altered eye socket. Her eyes are slightly differently shaped. They look more monolithed than Jess's, because Jess is half European and Ivy is not. So the most recent one with the modified mold was actually Truly Me 61 in 2015. She's been released, not 61, 64, sorry, in 2015. She was retired about 2 years ago, I think. I think she was retired about 2 years ago. No, maybe longer. I didn't really keep up. And this isn't even the only alteration. There's actually a third one, but I'm going to talk about that in the next part. So just because it was released after this next one was released after the Be Forever line rebrand. So that's why I'm not going to mention it here, but there's a boy version. There have been a total of 11 Jesses in the Truly Me line. 1 Jess in the historical line. / Best Friends line. I'm going to lump those together for the purposes of this video. There have been 2 Girl of the Years. 2. Who's the second one? Maybe just 1. Maybe I messed up on that. Who's the second Girl of the Year? Okay, I'm wrong. There's only 1 in the Girl of the Year line. Now, yeah, there's 1. I just read it wrong. There has been 1 in the contemporary line and 0 in the World by Us line. The next face mold we are going to talk about is one of the last we're going to be talking about today. It is the Tsunali mold, released in 2009 as a part of the Girl of the Year line. It was released on the Best Friend of Krissa. It was a very important doll to the history. In that year, this is one of the only times I've done Best Friends for a Girl of the Year. Like, they've been siblings, but this is Best Friends. And it's the only time. This mold has been used 14 times, same amount as the Jess mold. It has been used mainly on primarily Truly Me dolls. It has been used twice in the historical line and twice in the Girl of the Year line, as well as 0 times in the contemporary line and 0 times in the World by Us line. It is also available through the Create Your Own. In fact, I should mention this. Only 2 face molds on this list are not available as a Create Your Own doll. You will see that on screen. The most recent doll released with this face mold is Truly Me 114, which is an interesting number. They really like 14, in 2022 as a part of the Truly Me rebrand. The face itself appears to have changed in the aspects of, I think the eye sockets got bigger, the chin and cheeks got smaller, the lips remained the same, and the nose bridge remained the same. But that's pretty much it. The very last face mold we will be talking about today is the Marie Grace face mold, released into the historical line in 2011. This is the last face mold released prior to the Be Forever rebrand on the doll Marie Grace Gardiner. The most recent doll with this face mold is Kavi Sarma. I cannot detect a difference. Kavi Sarma's Girl of the Year 2023. Personally speaking, on the appearance of this doll face mold. I think it's because it has been so rarely used until the year 2020 that they have not altered it much. And it has only been used on 5 dolls, which is 1 historical and 1 Girl of the Year and 3 Truly Me dolls. It is very, and it's from 2011, so I'd have expected a little more by now. So yeah, we have come to the end of this one. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope you like the fact that I was able to come up with all these different. This took me a lot of time to research, so if you like it, part 2 will be coming out, and if anyone wants me to, I can do a dedicated video where all I do is talk about the amount of each mold that is sewn up in the line and not like the full history of it, just so you know how frequently they occur. This list is up to date as of June 2023. And bye!